Hello, everyone. I hope you are doing well. Basically, thank you for coming into my presentation. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about a presentation today. We're going to talk about how I escape the 9-to-5 grind and I generate 37,000 plus months as a short and medium term rental host through Airbnb and VRBO. And how you can do this too without owning any of the properties. And while doing it remotely, and you can do it semi-passively. I guess the official term is really passively because you can kind of, put in work and then, over time, you can actually, reap the rewards of all those deposits from people. Everybody, you can call me Johnny, also known as SoCal Rental Guy, and that my name is John Howard, but that's actually a lot of my email addresses and how I'm kind of known with this whole rental market and everything that I do with Airbnb and VRBO. Okay, so what we're going to do in this case study, everybody, is I'm going to reveal to you the secrets to rental arbitrage with Airbnb and VRBO. In this case study, I'm going to show you again how I can have an experience and generate $37,000 plus months as a host. In just 10 to 15 minutes, I'm going to reveal how I can experience up to $37,000 a month with just 2 properties and how you can do it as well remotely and semi-passively. Full disclosure, everybody, I do own 2 of these properties. I also assist and manage a 3rd property, and I actually have launched many other properties that I did not own. Launched them, managed them, ran them, rented them out over many years. I actually started doing rentals on one of my properties back in 2005, which is before Airbnb even existed as a company. The other thing we're going to talk about is that I'm going to reveal today is how you're actually better off not owning the property. And I'll just go ahead and tell you right now, it's really 2 words: maintenance and repairs. There's actually other words like paying for insurance, but it's really maintenance and repairs. And just to give you a little example, even recently I had water damage at one of my properties, and insurance had to come in and we had to do some different things, and there was lots and lots of repairs. The great thing is that insurance did cover everything, which is wonderful. But that's not always the case, and there are a lot of maintenance outside of things like extreme water damage, like painting the house, that you don't have to cover if you're just renting it for the purpose of doing arbitrage and then renting out on VRBO and Airbnb. Okay, so in this, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about short and medium term rental arbitrage and how this could actually be one of the top investments out there these days. There's a lot of reasons that I say that, but what you could do is you could compare it to something like stocks and options or trading. You could compare it to something like e-commerce. You could compare it to other things like purely online businesses. And the reason, one of the primary reasons why Airbnb and VRBO is very solid is really because of 2 things. Number one, one of the greatest things about it is that it is probably going to be one of the quickest ways to significant deposits, right? 1,000, 3,000, 5,000. So mid kind of 4-figure deposits. It is quite, potentially the fastest route to actually larger deposits. The other reason is because it's real estate, and real estate's always going to work because people need a place to stay. It's just is what it is. Traveling professionals, whatever it is, they need a place to stay. So again, in this case study, we're going to show you how and why short and medium term property rentals that you don't own could be one of the top investments, how to find the best property rentals for you, how you can get the best possible rental deal, how to implement property management systems which enable you to be remote and automated, or partially automated, and an experienced host hack to lift your returns, right? Okay, guys, a little bit about me, just so you know who's giving the presentation. I'm referring to myself here as Johnny, SoCal Rental Guy. I actually been an online entrepreneur for a while, going back to a while ago in the mid-2000s, right? And I've actually launched 3 online businesses, and each of them I've generated, each of these 3, I've gotten up to 7 figures and past. One particular example is the second one was probably my most successful one. Had up to 15 employees, up to as many as 6 million visitors per month. Actually, interestingly enough, we were rated as the #1 most visited mortgage website in the world back in those days, back in the mid to late 2000s, and this was certainly during the refinance boom of those days. I bring that up to you, everybody, not because I'm trying to say that I did these great things, but the reality is that in this day and age, I mean, launching an online business is great, but you can also try a lot of things and it might not work, right? With respect to Airbnb and VRBO, I've actually found that it really is, astonishingly fast route to getting again, reasonably sized deposits, $1,000 all the way up to $5,000 or more. And you could be getting these, multiple times per month. So during the Great Recession from 2008 to 2012, I started renting my Southern California properties on VRBO and Airbnb, and they all did very well. This is actually quite a few, everybody. So number one, I've got a lake villa. I actually do own that, and that was already being rented. I never really, I did live there, but I only lived there for a year. And then other 2 properties in Los Angeles by the beach, I actually moved out, and during that time frame rented both of those out, and they did very well. So we're talking about basically during those times 3 different properties in Southern California. I'm about to share with you all the secrets, plus give you all the tools you need, plus enable you to confidently launch and fund your rental arbitrage business with credit, right? Okay, so now that you know about me a little bit, let's get into my presentation and why you're here. This is pictures of one of the properties that I do own and rent out through Airbnb and VRBO. Okay, everybody, so this is the overview, 5-part, rental arbitrage presentation. Number one, we're going to get into how you can actually rent the property for short and medium term, so that you'll be renting it out on Airbnb and VRBO. Okay, everybody, so the first thing that you want to do is you're going to want to establish a corporation. You can do this by starting a sub-S corporation, or you could start, and we could also get into multiple different ways that you could launch it. But just to keep things simple, you just go to LegalZoom. There's certainly other places that you can go, and maybe it's a little cheaper, but it's really pretty easy and pretty cheap to do it with LegalZoom. Also, I don't know what all the different states everybody's going to be in. I actually did launch an LLC in the state of California for free on the Secretary of State website. It was actually also pretty straightforward. That can be something that you can Google, like how to launch an LLC on the Secretary of State website of your state. But really, to keep things simple and smooth, you can just launch it on LegalZoom. Okay, so and here's what you want to do is basically you want to find the best property for your rental arbitrage. So what you want to do is you're going to have to actually do some research, and you're going to have to understand that it's very crucial to research and choose a location, or city that has sufficient travel demand. This could be, in terms of attractions, or that is reasonably near a big city for business travel. To give you an example, one of my places is actually in between Disneyland and San Diego. It kind of encompasses a lot of areas, but there's a lot of attractions there. Disneyland or near Disneyland, and then lots of different tourist attractions in San Diego and everything in between. Other than that, there's also properties that I have and run in Los Angeles, and really both of these areas have a lot of business travel. However, you have to factor in the fact that there's going to be rents corresponding, so the rents are going to be very high in a large city versus a location that might be a little bit further away from some of the other attractions. In this example, I used an actual area. And just so you know, you want to actually pick some sites to do this research in terms of once you figure out a location, you want to go to a site pretty obvious. You could go to Zillow. You could also go to Trulia and HotPads. Those are both owned by Zillow. And there's another one called Redfin, which is, really large, and you're going to really, cover a lot of area with that. You could also find some very good rentals on Craigslist, but you get a much better understanding of the actual, area and what the rents are going to be from Zillow. So in this example, what you want to do is you want to create a pro forma. And when I say pro forma, super simple, it just means what things would look like if you were actually, renting it, renting it from the property owner or landlord, and then actually then renting it out on VRBO and Airbnb. So while you might get a little bit concern is saying, oh, this is 3,300 in rent. You don't want to look at that. You want to look at actually what the profit is going to be. So in this example, this particular area, there's a site that I use. Actually, it's very popular. It's called AirDNA that can actually forecast the expected occupancy and the expected annual revenue of a property. And it's definitely the most cutting edge site for this out there right now. They're forecasting 97,200 per year for this property. And you want to take that and you want to divide that by 12. And then the actual rent for this particular property in this area is 3,300. And then that actually is a house. It's not a condo. And we can get into a lot of the advantages that you will have with a house versus a condo. So in this case, the annual revenue expected divided by 12 is approximately 8,100 per month, and the rent being 3,300 per month. What it's going to be is that is approximately a 60% gross profit margin, which is actually very high and a lot higher compared to things like other online businesses as well as e-commerce or Amazon. Now, you will have, some more expenses other than rent, but they're going to be, a lot smaller. I mean, your rent is going to be far and away your biggest expense. And then you'll have like little expenses with respect to, water and power and very little minor things. Cleaning expense is not really an expense because you actually do charge for that through Airbnb and VRBO. It's also very crucial that when you're doing your research, the actual location and the city that you are that you have chosen, you need to understand and make sure that corporate rentals are actually acceptable in that area. Okay, everybody. So once you've actually, chosen your location and you have started to reach out on some websites like Zillow and Redfin, it's time to fill out and submit your rental application. So what we're going to cover here is the importance of the rental application. So here, what you want to understand is that, you don't want to reach out to property owners and landlords, and you don't want to say, oh, hey, I'm, going to do Airbnb arbitrage or VRBO arbitrage. What you want to do is you want to effectively illustrate yourself as a corporate rentals company. And as a corporate rentals company, you want to find out, if they are interested in or if they support, corporate rentals and corporate leases. It's also a major plus if you can provide an actual website that highlights you as a corporation. A great resource to actually build your professional rental company website is called Lodgify. It's actually, really cheap, and you can do booking. I mean, they'll support bookings, but that's not why you have a website. You don't want to have a website for bookings. Your website is really just going to be to actually show, property owners and landlords, what you do and how you, service traveling professionals in the medical industry and traveling nurses, and also work with insurance companies to help people that have been displaced. Next, we're going to talk about, once you start doing your applications and you do have some interest from some property owners, we want to talk about going remote with technology. So the next thing is going to be the importance of actually having some systems in place to go remote with VRBO and Airbnb. Quite simply, one of the things that I have found to be pretty crucial for me, I actually really, feel that it's important to provide, a good service to people that are staying at various places of mine. And one piece of technology that I use is the Nest thermostat. What that does is that enables you to see what the temperature is inside of the house, as well as during the hot months, and then also during the cold months. This way that you'll kind of have a little bit of a leg up on if there's some sort of issue or something like that with the HVAC. I've found it very important for one of my Southern California properties that's a little bit inland and it gets very hot there in the summer. The second one is actually a smart lock for check-in. This is super simple. You can go down to Best Buy, you can go really anywhere online. Very easy. You get a, in this case, it's a Yale Smart Lock. And what you can do is, with Airbnb and VRBO, you can actually have those codes change with each check-in, and it can be done on an automated basis. Also, if you need to wing it, you can also get a lockbox. In my case, it was a private community, so a lockbox did work. A lockbox is certainly a little bit older school, and it's not going to be automated, but it does work. The next is a doorbell camera. Doorbell camera, not exactly incredibly essential, but super helpful, because a big part of actually generating revenue, from these sites is going to be the amount of guests that you have and the guest count. So a doorbell camera is going to enable you to make sure that the amount of people there match what their reservation is. And if it doesn't, you can, certainly collect additional revenue from Airbnb and VRBO. Lastly, there is a tool that can actually help you with messaging with respect to messaging with guests, and that tool is called Hospitable. And Hospitable will also enable you to power the setting up all the automations with your cleaners and cleaner service people. Okay, and the last little piece is going to be the actual hack, the insider trick. It's really simple, everybody. It's just using credit to launch your rentals. Basically, when you use credit, you're really using other people's money to actually launch your rentals. So if you don't have your own money, you can, use credit. When launching your first rental or launching an individual rental, you're going to need, anywhere a range is probably about 10 to 15,000 to get it launched. I mean, you might be able to pull off one for a little bit under 10,000, but the reality is you're especially as you kick off, you're going to need a little bit of padding anyway. So you're going to want to have that range of 10 to 15,000 in credit available so you can do things. If you don't know too much about credit, borrowing money from a bank with an interest rate with the expectation of paying them back. In order to qualify for credit from banks, you normally have to have, what is most often considered to be a good credit score, right? So what good means is that most commonly referred to as a minimum FICO credit score of 680 or higher, and that's generally considered to be in the good range. You can launch and fund your rental arbitrage business with credit. Once you get personal credit card or cards, you can consider, stepping up and starting to access business credit, as business credit can greatly assist in your path to a successful rental arbitrage, as well as then starting to access 0% APR cards, which can help you further launch it. Some personal credit cards that I have found that are pretty good for starting out, and again, everybody's credit is going to be different, but basically I found Capital One. The Capital One Platinum is pretty easy, well, at least in my experience. That was rather easy to actually get approved for. And then if you can't get approved for that, there actually is a Capital One secured card where you just put money up front and then you get that credit, and then with that you'll still be building credit with that Capital One secured. Another good card to start is also the Target Red Card. Chase and Amex, which is American Express, they have good cards as well. And then some of their cards offer 0% APR introductory interest as well. In most cases, you're going to need to have the good credit or the FICO of 680 or higher to actually get that 0%, or you could be an existing member of that particular credit. For example, with Discover, they'll send me 0% promotions. I've been a card holder there for a while, or even other cards like the Chase card or Discover, Capital One. They'll send you limited time promotions to actually get that 0%. Okay, so transitioning into business credit. So what's going to happen is if you don't have good credit, you can still start to work on your business credit. And business credit basically, instead of as an individual, you are going to have to, focus on your personal credit score to actually then, get business going. But you can still, as you work on your personal credit, you can still launch into business credit. So, with business credit, you're going to have to start getting net 30 accounts, which are actual vendor accounts. And with business credit, they use something called a Paydex score. So with personal, it's called a FICO score. 90% of lenders use the FICO score. And with business, it's called the Paydex score. So basically, you're going to have to start to get some accounts to, for business. A card that I found, at least for me, that was very easy to get from a business perspective was the Amex Business Prime card. I was able to get that a reasonable credit line rather easily. Usually it is going to take a little bit to actually get business credit cards. You want to launch with, in general, what's called vendor credit accounts. And then, the business starts reporting on credit. And then you want to get store credit accounts like Apple, Dell, Walmart, Office Depot, that kind of thing. And then once you have a couple accounts up and running, you can then graduate to what's called no personal guarantee. You basically don't need to worry about no personal guarantee right away because that's a little bit down the road. But in general, also with your business, if you have a bank that you're using for your checking account, once those deposits start to show up, that's going to be, a little bit easier to get a business card with that bank where your checking account is as well. And then after that, you could start to make a little progress with respect to 0%. In terms of credit, everybody, I actually have a pretty big background in credit, and basically talking to different people about their FICO scores. So here's just some slides for you. Basically, total number of credit accounts. In general, you want to have 11 or more to be good. In general, you want to have utilization of 30% or lower. The biggest actual factor is actually payment history. So you got to have a really good payment history, which is effectively, no missed payments for the last 2 years or longer, right? So thank you guys very much. So basically from here, if you're not currently enjoying your current job, or if you want to, basically launch into something like renting, doing rental arbitrage on Airbnb and VRBO, just so that you could maybe have a little bit more free time for yourself, then go ahead and you can book a call with me and my company, and to see if you qualify and if there's actually space for us to work with us. Here's some pictures of me. Basically, one thing that's nice about the rentals is I have some work, but it's certainly a lot less work. What I always say, a lot less work than what would be a normal job or really any other thing I've ever seen. So, personally, I like to travel a lot. I like to do adventure stuff, snow skiing. I like to take my son places. Go back to, where I grew up, do a lot of family trips and snow skiing and traveling to warm weather destinations like Cabo and Europe and all this stuff. So, this is just stuff that I like to do in my spare time, and having rentals on Airbnb and VRBO and having the flow going with that has really helped me to do that. So thank you all very much. And go ahead and if you'd like, go ahead and book a call, and we can find out with you if you're interested in working with us, if we have some space, and if you qualify. Thank you very much.